too bad. So hi, I'm Josh Lawler. I'm a partner at the law firm Zuber Lawler, where I practice securities and IP law and do a lot of things in distributed ledger technology. Here with
Hi, my name is Julian. I'm the founder of a company, a London-based company, and we're trying to develop a thing called ID NFT, a totally decentralized way to identify yourself around the world. And I'm here to speak about it.
Excellent. So,
nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you as well. And by the way, this is completely and totally unrehearsed, off the cuff, everything else. So
nothing prepared.
We don't know what's going to happen, and we're missing two panelists. But the panel is on future use cases for NFTs, and of all the panel titles we could have, it'd be hard to think of one that's actually broader than that. My own take, just kind of get out my thought process, so you can all be here with me on this. What an NFT really is a snippet of software code. It's an executable off of another snippet of software code, and what it really ends up being is just media. It's like a piece of paper. So if you can think about what use cases are there for pieces of paper, it's a pretty broad category, and I think in NFTs we're like in the same place except kind of on steroids. So there's a lot of potential uses, and we'll obviously get into.
Of course, yeah. So about our project. First of all, let's start from the beginning. I'm a former border police officer, and I've done it for almost 10 years. And I think the government usually overcomplicates things when it comes to, especially when it comes to identity. So I have a lot of things going through my mind, and we came up with the idea that it can be done with blockchain technologies and NFTs, basically to have full control of your identity as an NFT on a community blockchain, because nowadays anyone can start a blockchain. For example, to give an example, Manhattan, if they would have their own blockchain controlled by themselves, not by the government, and people living in smart homes, because I truly think nowadays we live in homes that are not fit for purpose, because you need to become the server. One of the main things that would make this work, the ID NFT, how we like to call it, become your own server and own your data on the blockchain, and only the blockchain having access with your permission to your data. For example, you go from Manhattan to New Jersey, you find there another community with their own blockchain, and that community can check you, and your neighbors can validate you. So you validate your neighbors as well with the NFT. So you go and you agree to give your details, to show your details to a police officer from another area, your area, and everything happening on the community blockchain. And everyone in the community becoming a server, basically, and storing everything. Nothing with the government. I know this is another thing the government doesn't like.
Yeah, well, no, all right, so anybody who hasn't noticed that decentralized technology and centralized government kind of naturally clash, people don't say that enough, but that kind of is the way that it is. I'm sitting here listening to what you're proposing, and it makes perfect sense to me from a technology standpoint. But I'm also sitting here thinking, okay, well, what about all the laws about gerrymandering and gentrifying the neighborhoods and fair housing and everything else? Where if you've got a neighborhood that is their own servers, it's not the government. So what happens when they start behaving badly? That becomes a real question. And I don't have an answer, by the way.
I don't have an answer either, but it's something progressive, so it's a transition. We're planning to do something in a closed circuit. We have an island on our mind, just build it in a small community, in a closed circuit, so nothing illegal, everything, off the grid, and to implement the project first, to prove the design, and then the community, trying to establish their own laws, because we have a big issue with regulation, the SEC in the United States.
Just don't mention their name, they may show up.
Oh, hi.
All right, pleasure.
Pleasure.
All right, so finish up your thought and we're going to get an intro.
So we want to do everything closed circuit, prove the design, the model, and then the community, is trying to set their own regulations that apply to them, because regulations from one area of the world cannot apply to other areas of the world, and then pushing towards the government. So 9 million people, if they do that, the government needs to stand back a bit, and chill out a bit.
Got it. Future use cases of NFT. The government needs to chill out. I like
That's
it. Quick introduction.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Jamar Montgomery, and apparently I thought the session started at 11:55, but apparently it started at 11:45. But I'm here talking about future uses of NFTs, particularly in the legal space and also in real-world asset tokenization. One of the challenges that we're seeing is that how do you take a product that is in the physical world and also represented in the digital world in a way that the original manufacturer still has visibility to it? So when we start looking at these future uses, it puts us in a place where we never thought that resale value or resale provenance or continual chain of custody would now be valuable to manufacturers, to producers, to different companies. Now, when we talk about it from the legal space, obviously in 2022, we saw the case where there were airdropped source of process documents, which allowed for quote unquote pseudonymous wallet to be served with papers when there was a hack of the LCX exchange. One of the things that we're going to see in the future is with your wallets, they're going to require geolocation as well as IP addresses. And that's how they're going to get around the fact that crypto is pseudonymous. Yes, you know who the identity of, you know that this wallet or these assets have gone to this particular wallet. You don't know who that wallet belongs to.
Wait, how do you geolocate a hot wallet?
There's something on the blockchain that needs to be coded.
So the thing is when you start looking at how to prevent fraud, right? Or, and let's look at it from another perspective, how to enforce regulation or how to enforce taxes or how to enforce or give greater visibility. In order to have that, they're going to require wallets that have some kind of digital identifier that makes it you. So whether or not that's IP addresses, geolocation, to add further.
That's already Civic, right? The company, like doing Civic, they're doing the.
There's a lot of folks attempting to.
There's a lot of
got that down.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I will say, one of our clients was just applying to have payment on off rails with a larger non-US market maker. And first time I've seen this on the interview questionnaire is your principal cryptocurrency wallets. Show us your principal cryptocurrency wallets, which, by the way, for anybody who doesn't kind of know how this works, if you give somebody your principal cryptocurrency wallets, they will then run visualization and artificial intelligence over those numbers and know everything that they are remotely related to like 5 transactions down the line. This is why, transactions in most cryptocurrencies are really about as far from anonymous as you could possibly get. But to your point, I just don't see how they do it by geolocation because.
Well, TRM Labs, Chainalysis, they're great at doing that. The part about the geolocation, what I'm saying is that the individuals and regulatory bodies, companies and projects that have relationships with the regulatory bodies are going to help define the regulations, right? Help define the regulations. And so in that space, you already kind of have an advantage because you know what the SEC or the CFTC or any of these other regulatory bodies are going to do. So when we start talking about NFTs, and now if they decide to look at them as securities, right? If they start to look at them as securities, if they start to look at these digital assets as actual value, there's going to be a lot of regulation that comes in place make sure that belongs to
you. Yeah, I don't want to, forgive me for saying this while I'm being recorded, I don't want to give too much deference to the regulators because a lot of what they're saying is not really logically sound. That's a good way of putting it.
It's not logically sound for someone that believes in the ethos of crypto and blockchain. It It's not logically sound.
Well, I mean, no, a lot of their stuff is not logically sound, period. I don't know if you read this recent SEC versus Coinbase opinion with the like implicit contract with the ecosystem that doesn't actually need to be a contract. That's garbage. You heard it here first. I cracked up with panelists, that's cool. But you know, I'm gonna take this a little bit different direction since we're freehanding. What do you guys think about Tornado Cash? So, you know, the last panel that was up here, which was talking about, you know, legal regulation, they're totally watching this shit. Was talking about legal regulation. You know, was saying, okay, we need to be good stewards, and that's all great, but the thing is that this technology has put us in a place where we've got conflicting underlying principles. You know, on the Tornado Cash side, it's like, yeah, I don't want to facilitate human trafficking or money laundering, any of that stuff, but I also don't believe that a software dev would put together some software that has a legal use case, which you should be able to do. This goes back to music file transfer sharing law. Should suddenly be like facing down criminal charges from FinCEN. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know. Well, I guess I say how I feel about it. How do you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I really think like my overall thinking is that the government should not have access to your private transactions. You know, I know it from the police force. The government considers you're a terrorist first, and then you have to prove yourself, which is the wrong way to go. They have to prove that you're a terrorist. You know, like if you're living, you know, you're going with your wife and kids outside. You know, like you're doing transactions. The government, you're like, you know, doing like bad stuff. And that needs to change, but I don't know, it's kind of difficult because blockchain started as a decentralized thing. So switching from centralized, you know, way of doing things to decentralized, and now in about like 10, 12 years, we're heading towards centralization again. So blockchain decentralized, switching towards centralization. Like I've heard some panels, the government needs to listen to you, to me, to everybody else, and we need to do regulation together to, how should I say, pamper the individual, because now what they're trying to do, the government in general, they're trying to integrate like unique individuals into specific communities, and that will never work. That's the thing. So we need to be careful, of course. Yeah, the SEC is watching. We need to be careful how we do it and how we approach the situation with them, how we discuss with them, yeah, to avoid being charged of something.
I blame everyone in this room. I'm going to be serious. I'm actually serious. I blame everybody in this room. You can't talk about how much money that you're making in blockchain and crypto, and your politicians don't get any. Pay the politicians.
Sam Beckman did pay the politicians.
I'm saying that in terms of you know who's getting it right in terms of lobbying, in terms of making sure that there's regulation that benefits them. Coinbase, FTX. I mean, even though he was a sack of trash for what he did to the space, but the fact is that he made sure that the politicians were paid. And so when it came to talk about regulations in crypto and talk about crypto, why do you have him doing congressional testimony? So
we are way off point, by the way.
But we have to debate it. So,
right.
Yeah.
If you're going to say future uses of NFTs, right? Okay. If the government had its way, it'd be used as another surveillance tool.
Well, it is. That's happening.
That's my point. So if I blame everybody that's here in this room, I blame everybody that has made money, that has not taken that money and paid off a local politician. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Made donations. Campaign donations, right? We have figured out a way of legalizing corruption in the United States, and we call it political donations.
Oh wait, we have a question in the back.
So I just think there is no education, so you can't pay somebody to just give them money without any kind of like. I think NFTs are great. Actually, that world, the politician, the FCA. I mean, I'm based in London, so I know that kind of part of the world. They don't understand this technology, and we don't make that easy for them to actually use it.
They're not going to either.
You just don't want to pay them for the sake of paying them. They actually need to understand they should integrate the technology. So it seems like that we are a bit too far ahead. And some of use cases, why Starbucks stop to use NFTs?
I'm gonna push back. I want to push back on that. The same people that say that those same people, right, are willing to tell their grandmas and their friends about it, but aren't willing to have a conversation with their politician about it. They understood it enough to be able to tell their friends about it, but not their politician.
Yeah, no, dude. I'm part of the Chamber of Digital Commerce. We try all kinds of education with politicians.
No. But what I'm saying is, I'm pushing back on what she said. As once again, one of the things that I was responsible for doing was educating my local politicians about blockchain, right? And not from you're going to make money off of this, from a workforce development standpoint. I worked with kids who had gotten in trouble. So I was a juvenile public defender. So as these kids who wanted to make music, there's a way that you can utilize blockchain technology to be able to put your music out and monetize it, right? So I'm saying that as people who are passionate in this space, it is our responsibility to make sure that we communicate that, right? So I'm with you. I'm with you in from a simplified way of looking at it. Hey, well, you can't just go and do this. I'm going to say that, the same way that you have advocated for your friends to get it, and your friends
Really kind of what you're getting at. And obviously when you've got something that's extremely disruptive and law can't keep up with technology, so there's always going to be things that are immoral but not yet illegal. There is always going to be administrative bodies that overreach because they're trying to guard against that, and there is always going to be people who use that as an excuse to do kind of not wonderful things like try to nationalize the financial supply, Elizabeth Warren, and that's just kind of the way that is. But that said, the technology is amazing. I mean, we haven't really talked about use cases per se, but what you've got here is something that can be used for proof access or execution on almost anything. You can prove ownership, you can prove provenance. You can use an NFT as a key to a stream of data on an Internet of Things device. So like one of the things we're looking at is, if I've got cargo that needs to stay below a certain temperature, I can put a thermometer into the cargo container and have an NFT that actually gives me access to the temperature the entire time through shipping. That's an incredible use case.
It's convergences of technology, right? So when NFTs and blockchain become real relevant when you start adding automation, when you start adding NFC tags to it, when you start adding all these other layers that really make sense. So when we say about future uses of NFTs, it's also meaning, hey, we as developers, we as creators, we as technologists have to really keep our eyes out on the technology landscape and on that stack to see how these different technologies will be able to stack upon each other to create either businesses or features of businesses to make real change in America. And not in America, but also in the world.
Everywhere. Yeah, no, that's absolutely right.
Yeah, like 2 days ago, I saw there was a guy with a stand, and he's adding a code to the NFT, and you can control the NFT. Yeah, I found that really cool. Yeah,
the executable NFT.
Yeah.
Partner prison.
Yeah. So you use Web 2 to modify the NFT. Yeah, the NFT is minted and everything. Yeah, but it has a code attached to it, and you give it like certain attributes and stuff like that. And coming back to regulation, I think everybody is an individual. Like you said, we need to relate, to communicate with our politicians and try to actually go to the center of it, and actually contact regulators directly. Because so we're from London as well, and we tried with our company. The FCA sent an email to everybody, or I don't know how that came about, and we're asking us if we want to participate in give feedback on the regulation on blockchain basically. And we applied with our company, but they didn't approve us. So I don't know, on that, we're trying to build on that. You invited us, but then you said no. We chose other companies and stuff like that. So I don't know.
I'm actually surprised that they were nice enough to tell you they didn't approve you. In the United States, they would just not pay attention.
Oh, okay, but probably they would not invite you. Yeah, they're like, no, we're fine, we're good. Yeah.
Well, once again, future use is being able to communicate that to your regulators. It's seeing how
it's go like that. Do we have any questions from the audience? I'm just curious. It's been a spirited, wide-ranging discussion. Yes, sir.
I just thought it was a really good conversation, and I think a lot of this for thinking people is in the back of everybody's mind. The only thing the thing that I think is the most attractive about all of this is the freedom and the individuality of privacy and all this. And if that goes away, then this is nothing.
Yeah,
So I think,
that's.
and I think when you talk about talking to your government, I just think that all we have to do is just make sure we vote for people who believe in individuality and freedom, and I think that would be the key.
Fund them.
Yeah, if
Vote and fund them, because long before I ever needed your vote, I needed money to keep the lights on and the
I
water
see what you
running.
mean, I see what you mean. At
Like-
first I was like, what you talking about? Now I understand what you mean.
But the first guardian of the privacy is the individual, so we need to take care of ourselves. Responsibility, yeah, personal responsibility.
Yeah, I'm going to go with responsibility on this also, maybe from a little bit of a different direction. And to your point about the privacy and communication and everything, those are all extremely laudable. Wow, every time I talk.
Oh, no. I was just going to add in regarding government and what they're doing. I'm part of an organization where there's quite a few individuals as well as individuals from the White House, Secret Service, and individuals from like Amazon. And it's part of President Biden's grant. So he gave $70 million to 2 universities where we're actually have a say and input regarding digital assets. So they're already doing several use cases. I've already worked on a disaster relief for such as Hawaii and how to actually get aid, and we submitted it to Congress. So I think the challenge is that as far as decentralization, there's less voices because there are individuals from like Amazon and Microsoft and Meta
Right.
that are
Yeah.
making these decisions.
Yeah, and actually, I want to draw a little bit of a distinction here too. There is such a thing as a permissioned chain, and it's still a blockchain, and the government has shown no issue whatsoever with adopting permission chain technology that does not get in the way of any of its other stuff. So, and I'm sure the projects are all very laudable and everything, but I want to get clear on the fact that we have a lot of real big regulatory problems that I think they often try to whitewash by saying, look at all the stuff that we're doing, when it's really kind of weak tea. It's like, okay, yeah, you can use the technology to do something we all agree is fine, but when you run into a real problem with the fact that, if you have a digital asset and there's no liquidity from a third-party source, it can't be used for its actual function, so it needs to be on an exchange to be functional, but if you say it's on an exchange, now it's a security, so it can't be used, that's a real swipe at the entire technology. And, disaster relief is great, but it's not the same thing. Anyways.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. This was
Thank
a
you very
lively
much
one.
for listening.
And up next, we have NFT regulation